just got done watching Arcane Season 2 Part 3, and I have to say, it has to be the biggest disappointing thing in cinema and TV history. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about it. Now, episode 7 was absolute perfection. Everything about that episode was great. I gotta tell you, Echo is a real one because the man went to essentially a perfect world where everything except for Vi was perfect, right? And he still decided that he wanted to go back to the world he came from to save his friends and essentially fight for his friends. Absolute cinema, absolute perfection. Then we got episode 8, which was more of a setup episode that happened with everything with Victor, you know, glorious evolution and all that good stuff. And of course, setting up the whole war that was going to happen in episode 9. And then of course we got episode 9, which was just absolute insanity, a top tier war. Everything really was, again, perfection. The whole plot twist with essentially Victor was the one that saved Jace when he was a child and was the one that kind of sent Jace back to his own timeline to save everybody, right? Along with the boy savior, Echo. So you might be thinking, well, it seems like you really enjoyed, you know, this season of Arcane. So what's happening? Why are you saying it's the biggest, absolute worst thing in cinema and TV show history? Well, it's simply because of the numbers. Because when you really look at something like Arcane, I would say Arcane, an argument can be made that it's one of the best TV shows of all time. Like, you can make an argument for that, right? But the numbers are not reflecting that, right? So let's go ahead and actually take a look. Now, if we look at the first week of Arcane Season 2 coming out, we see that it ranked, number 2 with 6.3 million views, which is a lot. But I just don't think it's a lot for something like Arcane. Now, if we go to the following week when we got Part 2, we see that Arcane Season 2 has 7.4 million views. It went up a little bit. And then, of course, Arcane Season 1 made the list with 2.6 million views. So, people were probably seeing trailers. People were probably seeing a lot of people talking about it, marketing, all that good stuff. And they decided to watch Arcane Season 1. And, of course, they're probably adding a little bit to week 2. Now, we still don't have this week's numbers. We're probably going to have to wait till next week. Maybe I'll make a short about that. But when you really think about the level, the production level, the quality of Arcane, I would say that these numbers are disappointing. And let me explain right. Now, let's compare it to something like Dandadan, which Dandadan is an anime that's on Netflix. Now, it's not exclusive to Netflix, but in the first week of Dandadan, it averaged, I think it got about 3.4 million views or 4.3 million views, which again, comparing it to Arcane, which got 7, yeah, it's considerably a lot less, 3 million less. But take into account that Dandadan is not exclusive to Netflix because you can go watch it on Crunchyroll. That's generally where I watch most of my anime. And let's also be serious. Crunchyroll, when in terms of anime, is way bigger than Netflix in terms of anime. So I would argue that probably on Crunchyroll side is probably getting more than 7 million views, which would put it, above Arcane. Now, I don't know that for sure, but I just know that when it comes to anime, Crunchyroll is just way bigger. And we see that, throughout the weeks, it lost a couple of, million views here and there, but on average, it was keeping with 3 million, right? And that's just Dandadan, which again, Dandadan does not compare to the level of Arcane when we compare that to a franchise. Like, Dandadan is just like a new IP. It's not like a really well-known anime. But again, Arcane with the League of Legends IP is a way bigger franchise, right? Now, if we compare it to something again, like for example, the Demon Slayer, which is a more popular anime, one of the most popular animes out there, we see that when Demon Slayer was airing on Crunchyroll, it had 5.4 million views. Now, again, Demon Slayer was not exclusive to Netflix, and the Hashira training arc was, I think, a week or 2 weeks behind what Crunchyroll was showing. So they were like a week late to showing this anime. Again, it just kind of puts the numbers into perspective, right? Because as much as I love Demon Slayer, it does not compare to Arcane, right? So that's why I think the numbers for Arcane, even though they're good numbers, and I'm sure Netflix is happy with them, are criminal, because Arcane should be pulling way more numbers, right? But I think it's one of those things where the stigma is that it's an animated show. It's not a live action, because now if we compare this to something like Yu Yu Hakusho, the live action, which was horrible, Yu Yu Hakusho Season 1 had 7.7 million views in its first week, more than Arcane. let that sink in, right? It's absolutely insane, right? Now, Yu Yu Hakusho season 1, I do believe was exclusive to Netflix. Like, you couldn't watch this on Crunchyroll or anything like that. This is the live action. But the fact that a crappy live action adaptation got more views than Arcane season 1, criminal, right? Well, not more, but borderline, right? Borderline got more. Actually, no, it did get more, 7.7 to 7.4 on the second week of Arcane. It definitely got more if we compare season 1. But yeah, that is absolute criminal. That should not have happened, right? And then if we even compare it to some of the biggest live action to or anime to live action adaptation, I mean, we can compare it to One Piece season 1, which had 18.5 million views. And again, I love One Piece. I think it deserved to get that amount of viewership. I think it's amazing. I think it's a great TV show. I have reviews and reactions to that if you want to check that out. Wink, wink. But I still would think that Arcane is on a higher plane than the One Piece live action. Like, it just is right now. Of course, this is my opinion, but I definitely do feel like the reason why these numbers are not lining up is simply because Arcane just it's an animated show. It's not a live action. And I will tell you, I do not want a live action adaptation of Arcane. Leave it as it is. I think the way it is perfection. And let's also be honest, Arcane is definitely getting a way bigger budget when it comes to marketing for something like Dan Da Dan, for something like Demon Slayer, for something like Yu Yu Hakusho live action. Heck, I would even go as far as to say that probably higher than One Piece, because I believe the One Piece live action, I think they were like averaging like 10 million per episode or something like that. And that's pretty much about what Arcane is getting as well. And a lot of those budget, like I believe like 40-50% of it goes to marketing, right? So regardless, I feel like Arcane is probably the best show, arguably, you can make an argument, of all time that just doesn't have the viewership and the popularity that it deserves. So it really is criminal. Hopefully, with the next season, because I do think we're gonna get more seasons of Arcane, but it's probably gonna be under a different moniker. Again, I made a video about where the story could be going. Wink, wink. Make sure to check that out. But yeah, I think it's very obvious that we're gonna go to Noxus, right? I'm spoiling my own video here, but with the way that Ambessa and her end, and the fact that Mel is the one that's became the wolf, has the mask now. I think we're going to Noxus. I mean, it looked like she was making her way to Noxus, maybe to either fight against the Rose or do something over there in Noxus, but I can't wait to see that. And honestly, if the brutality that we saw in episode 9 of season 2 is an indication as to how we're gonna get in the next season of Arcane, or whatever they're gonna call it, I can't wait for it, right? We might have to wait 2 or 3 years before we get it, but regardless, I definitely do feel like once we do, it's gonna be absolute cinema and absolute perfection. Now, hopefully, the budget doesn't go down, because at the end of the day, this is a business, and I don't know if Arcane, with the level of production value that they got, returning these numbers, it's a good thing, right? Netflix might be looking at this, or maybe Riot might be looking at this, and maybe they are profitable, but maybe they're not making the amount of money that they want to make, and we might lose a little bit of that quality. Hopefully not. But let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about this. Do you think Arcane deserves more of a more recognition? And if you do, tell everybody to go watch it, because at the end of the day, it's perfection, 10 out of 10. And if you disagree, I hate to tell you, you're in the now. You probably watch the show with your eyes closed. But nah, in all seriousness, I definitely do feel like there's some flaws in there, because nothing is perfect. I definitely do feel like season 2, maybe we could have used 2 or 3 more episodes to set up everything. But they left a lot of the stuff open-ended. We do have a lot of plot lines that were not closed, and I think that's where the next season is gonna go. But here we go. Now we gotta wait. Let me know what you think, and like always, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you on the next episode. Peace out. Whoa.